Later this afternoon after 5 p.m., some storms could be severe with large hail and damaging winds. Otherwise, we'll have sunny skies with a high near 85 degrees. Showers and storms are likely to continue tonight until at least 1 a.m., with mostly cloudy skies going down to a low of 66. Sunny tomorrow with a high of 84. A slight chance of showers Saturday with a possible afternoon thunderstorms and a high of 87. Chance of showers and storms Sunday with sunny skies and a high near 85. And a chance of showers and storms on Monday with a high near 85 degrees. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM, 95.7 FM, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
It is Teleforum, the second hour, 10 minutes after 10. You can call at any point about anything I've been talking about, but I learned a long time ago, if you've got access to somebody that knows more about something than you, take advantage of that. It's 78 degrees right now. It's not raining yet. District Attorney for Beaver County, David Lozier, joins me. This is also being live. David, is it live fed or live feeded? What do you think?
I'm going to say active voice, active present tense.
Whipping out
it's a large live feed.
Whipping out the English grammar. David Lozier is the district attorney.
Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning. It's good to see you again. I'd love to see you under better circumstances.
We had a week back in 2016 where I think we had a series of homicides.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had maybe 3 homicides within about a 30-day period back in, I'm going to say May and June of 2016. This one is more bothersome if there's any, if there's a way to compare, because these are all juveniles. Either juveniles as victims, juveniles as perpetrators. That's what's changed.
Get me up to speed because I was trying to keep up. There's been an arrest made in the Aliquippa, and there's been one from each, but there's more investigation in Ambridge for a second person. Or am I just spitting headlines at you that you've seen for the last 2 days?
No, that's okay. So Saturday night at about 11:30, we had a juvenile murder a juvenile in Aliquippa up off Main Street. And the juvenile victim was Davia Sparrow, 15 years old. And
walking home from a party?
He was at a party.
Okay.
I believe he'd left the porch of the party, walked across the street, get something out of a car.
Okay.
And he was murdered at that car.
Okay.
By another juvenile. And that juvenile is Lamar Seymour, and we have an arrest warrant for him. He is not yet in custody. So we have a victim in Aliquippa, and we have an arrest warrant for the known single shooter in Aliquippa, in the Aliquippa case.
All right.
And then the next afternoon at about 6:30 in the evening on Sunday evening, we had a murder in Ambridge, and that was 2 individuals were tracking, following, chasing a juvenile through Ambridge, ultimately caught up with him at about the corner of the 1100 block of Church Street,
right,
behind the library, and they shot him. And we have witnesses who witnessed the stalking, the chasing. We have witnesses who witnessed the murder. Witnesses who saw both individuals with firearms flee, and then we have witnesses who basically followed or chased these 2 individuals back up towards the Olive and Duss intersection.
Yeah.
One of those is in custody. He's 18. He had just turned 18, but he had a juvenile record. So that was the young man who deceased was a Moreland. Ason Moreland, and Hunt is in custody. We're still looking for the second individual involved in the murder of Moreland.
I'm going to ask a naive question. How long does it take before you know what happened? I'm not saying before you could take it to a court and prove it, but when you show up, how long does it before you start piecing together, probably this person, probably this, before you start chasing leads?
We have amazing cooperation between the police agencies. So, for example, in the Aliquippa case, we had Aliquippa officers on the scene almost instantly, and we had state police there with their full force on scene, beginning interviews and downloading cameras and talking to people. It takes a while. I'm going to say it's going to take about 4 or 5 hours in most cases until you have actual pieces put together, with the start of a timeline.
Right.
That doesn't mean you always know who the shooter is, but you've got the timeline. Ambridge happened much faster because we had immediate cooperation and tracking of the defendants.
Chasing of the defendants.
It's pretty close to chasing. They knew that they were being followed.
Yeah. It's Teleforum District Attorney of Beaver County, David Lozier, is my guest. Are they related, the two shootings, or are they not related? I've seen stories, I've seen quotes that say both of those things.
I think one law enforcement source said that it wasn't related in a retaliation sense. I haven't said that they're unrelated because there are other ways that they can be related other than retaliation, right?
What would those be?
Targets, one group targeting another.
But not specific retaliation for the Saturday night shooting?
Possibly.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still trying to put those pieces together. And again, when you have people, the one gentleman is not in custody. The other one is in custody. He's got an attorney. So far, he's not talking very much. But we have to put together the motives. Now, in reality, motive doesn't matter in prosecution. It used to be, I'm going to say 100 years ago, or even into the 50s and 60s. The old Sherlock Holmes thing, where you had to have motive, opportunity, and means, right? That mattered in the old days of investigations because you didn't have the technology that we have today.
Okay, that you're talking about that mattering because those were the tools that you had. They were psychological tools, but you weren't yet using forensic tools.
Right. Who had the opportunity, motive, and means to kill somebody? Because that's how you went out and said, hey, let's go ask the butler. Let's go ask the brother-in-law, right? Because that's how you determine who to talk to. Now, we've got phones, we've got computers, we have video, we have ways to identify somebody and to establish that, and DNA and fingerprints. We have ways to identify that someone committed a crime. In reality, I don't care what the motive was. The public cares. Why did this person shoot that person? From a prosecution point of view, from an evidentiary point of view, that really doesn't have much means. A jury wants to know that. But if I can put a gun in someone's hand and prove that they fired 2 shots, well, the second shot is definitely intentional, and that's definitely first-degree murder. I may not care why they did it if I can prove that person did it.
Can motive become a part of sorting out what the charges are? Does that ever weigh into it? Crime of passion is my thinking.
You can end up with an emotional, sudden killing that could become third-degree murder versus first-degree murder.
Okay.
Sometimes you can have a failed self-defense where someone at the time thought that they were defending themselves, but there's a flaw in their defense, so it could become manslaughter. So that could be a motive. That could impact it. But that's a shift of the burden to prove it wasn't self-defense. But that's really the only exception. This hate crime stuff, I think that should be thrown out the window.
Just the crime's the crime.
If you committed murder, I don't care why you did it. You committed murder.
David Lozier with me, the District Attorney for Beaver County. I'm Eddie Crow, and the program is Teleforum. How has the reaction from the communities been? Because I knew the story was coming out just like you did. There's going to be a reward. There's going to be a reward for information. When I see those stories, I don't know that I'd want the reward enough to put myself in a potential bad situation. Do those rewards often get claimed? Has the reaction in this case, either of these cases, been different?
We are doing things differently this time. In the past, we've offered either unstated rewards for information, or we've waited till a case was a year old to offer.
To get a case back out of the cold file.
Yes.
Okay.
In this case, within a couple hours of the Aliquippa murder, I approached the agencies that have reward monies available. Mm-hmm. And I asked them, let's do something differently. Let's put the award on immediately, and let's see if there's a difference. And what we saw, I think, because Aliquippa has a reputation sometimes of no one talking because
clamming
of
up
fear, right?
Yeah.
Well, we started to get information right away. And now we have a lot of people providing information in both cases. And it's not just the reward, right? It's people in Aliquippa, I'm going to say especially Aliquippa, are tired of the juvenile issues, the juvenile homicides, the juvenile shootings, this small group of juveniles who are trying to take over their streets. Aliquippa citizens are tired of it. They're tired of their high school students killing each other. So they've come forward this time. And I don't think it's not all the reward. That reward's long term. That's going to be at the time of conviction. Could be 2 years, right?
Right.
But if you're providing information in the first week that leads to a conviction, you could get $10,000 reward. But right now we have a lot of people that have provided information to crime solvers, to Aliquippa police, to my detectives.
School district,
to the Pennsylvania State Police. The state police have done an amazing job pushing that Aliquippa homicide. They're really to be rewarded.
Why is it different this time, you think?
Juvenile victims, juvenile killers. We've seen, as we've talked about this before, where we have a dramatic increase post-COVID of mental health issues and juvenile issues. At the same time, we have change in federal law and state law that makes it more difficult to detain a juvenile, to put them in what used to be called juvie. So there's less retribution. We've also had the few juvenile facilities that we had available that have closed. Mm-hmm. So we have juveniles that are out there in Beaver County committing violent crimes or major felonies, car thefts, assaults, robberies, burglaries, and they can't be detained because we have no place to put them. So I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that potentially most of the people involved in these cases that we're aware of could have been detained juvenilely if we had a place to put them.
Previously for something else.
Yes, which could have prevented the crimes. So it's a major problem, and everybody's aware of this. With the closing of Schumann in Allegheny County, that was the final blow. But on an average day, we need, among the 9 counties in southwestern Pennsylvania, we need an average of 54 juvenile detention beds. There are none. We have no juvenile detention beds. So we're looking.
How much would a facility cost? You're talking $10 million just to get plans drawn. It's not.
I'm not going to say $10 million
fundraiser money,
but we have been raising this red flag, and we've had work sessions. We actually have a meeting this morning with the county commissioners, all the stakeholders in the county and the state coming in to talk about what's the need, how big would it need to be, what's it going to cost. And then we're going to hopefully approach the other counties in the area. So if we can get, say we need an average, I'm going to say 2 or 3 beds at a time.
Okay.
But if I could build a 12 or 16 bed facility and I can get a pre-signed contract with Lawrence for a couple, Butler for a couple, Washington for a couple, Fayette for a couple, Armstrong for one. If we can come up with pre-agreements where they're paying for the beds, then we can afford to build the facilities. That's the discussion we're having in the county. Building one somewhere, but we're pushing that. We're pushing that bus up the hill.
How much could this last weekend speed up that bus pushing? It's a horrible example, but it is a very, very good example of what we're talking about with the shortcomings.
That and the fact that we've had 60 to 70 cars stolen in the last 3 or 4 months, predominantly by juveniles. So we have 60 or 70 victims out there,
right?
Where we have someone whose car is stolen and crashed, which is what they're doing. So and insurance companies are furious. This is a nationwide issue,
right?
But we have a small county with 60 or 70 cars being stolen, all by juveniles, and we don't have a place to detain the kids. And a lot of times we find guns, and I don't have a place to detain them. So and now we have these juvenile homicides.
David Lozier is my guest. It's Teleforum. I want to ask you about perception. The perception when the murder happened in Aliquippa Saturday night was very different than the perception when we heard about Sunday in Ambridge, and that's, I guess, the image of the community. Is it unfair to look at Aliquippa or look at some of the other communities that Beaver Falls that would fall into the same category and say, well, that's just what happens there? This isn't just happening in Aliquippa and Beaver Falls, and oh, look, it happened in Ambridge by the library. That's suddenly a much more pressing issue. These things are happening all over the county, yes?
Yes, these are unfair perceptions that I think go back to the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
We had a very different crime issue, a very different heavy drug use issue in a couple of our river towns. That's all changed with fentanyl coming in, fentanyl replacing heroin, fentanyl and now fentanyl-laced pills, fentanyl-laced cocaine and crack, and fentanyl-laced meth, killing people in every single community in the county. The crime related to that is in every single community in the county. And then coming out of COVID, you've got the mental health issues, the juvenile issues. We've got these cars being stolen in every, I'm not going to say every community because, you may not have anyone stolen in Georgetown, right? But we have.
I don't think so. I don't think there's a lot of Kias rocking in Sewickley. That may be prejudiced on my part.
But you may have a Sorrento, a high-level Telluride, whatever the heck they call that. But but we've had cars stolen in almost every single community, the larger communities especially, and but it's also juveniles committing shootings and robberies and burglaries across the county. We've had shootings in the cute little, I'm going to say, white suburbs, right, in Beaver County. It's everywhere. Juveniles with guns, juveniles stealing cars.
Is this the current version of back in the 70s, all of the crime moved out of the city and moved into the suburbs? Is this kind of similar to that? Particularly the fentanyl. Once it's in the suburbs, and this is going to be blunt, and you can disagree if you want, once the white suburbanites have to deal with it, then it gets addressed. Is that too blunt?
No, I think that's very close to the point.
Okay.
Back in 2017, that was the stigma issue, where when we went from 39 deaths a year to 102 deaths a year from opiate overdoses. And a lot of people were saying, oh, that's in Aliquippa, that's in Beaver Falls.
That's not here.
It's not here. Those are minorities. That's a low economic section. And that was 100% not true. So we spent a lot of time going to church groups, going to municipalities, going to police, going to the public, and explaining literally in 2016 and 17 and 18, out of our 34 municipalities, every single one of them had an overdose from opiates. Every single one of them. When you looked at the numbers, we're looking at 96%, 94% white, 6% African American. It reflected the population. It was everywhere. And we also talked about Narcan. Oh, we'll just let them die. Don't want to Narcan someone for the fifth time.
I remember hearing people actually try to make that argument.
Right. They were saying, oh, the police or the ambulance crew shouldn't Narcan someone after 2 attempts. Well, guess what? This is now in the suburbs. It's someone whose grandson is dying and dying in their bedroom. This is not on the street corner. This is in your bedroom in suburbia. Do you want that ambulance guy to make the decision? No, we've already Narcaned your guy 5 times that you didn't know about. No, we are saving lives. You can't treat someone or bring them back into society if they're dead.
David Lozier is my guest. News is next. It's Teleforum on Beaver County Radio.
The best of Beaver County is easy to discover. It's right here on your radio. Tune in Beaver County Radio or watch the best of Beaver County live on Facebook or YouTube video this and every Thursday from 11 to 11:30. The program is made possible by St. Barnabas. For over 3 years now, the show has been dedicated to shining light on the great things going on right here in your neighborhood and the people that are making it happen. This Thursday, enjoy conversation and insight from an intriguing lineup of guests who are creating excitement and having an impact right here in Beaver County. Your friends and neighbors at St. Barnabas are pleased to support the best of Beaver County. The radio broadcast will also be replayed each week from 11:30 to noon on Sundays on Beaver County Radio. Archived Best of Beaver County videos can be viewed on the WBVP WMBA Facebook page. It's your chance to encounter the best of Beaver County with host Mike Romai this Thursday starting at 11. For more information, visit beavercountyradio.com. Beaver County Radio's news source. 95.7 and 99.3 FM, along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com. Here's Curtis Walsh.
Good morning. We can expect showers and thunderstorms today, mainly after 5 p.m. Some of those storms could be severe with large hail and damaging winds. Otherwise, we'll have mostly sunny skies with a high near 85 degrees. We'll have a complete Beaver County radio weather forecast after this look at news. A press conference was held outside Aliquippa Elementary School Wednesday morning, and District Attorney David J. Lozier commended those that came out in support of DeVea Sparrow's family. DeVea was gunned down execution style at Main and Knoll Streets Saturday night after he attended a graduation party in the area. Aliquippa Police, the Beaver County Detective Bureau, and Pennsylvania State Police were in attendance when it was announced that the shooter was Lamar Seymour, a 17-year-old from Ambridge and Aliquippa. DeVea was shot with a .40 caliber handgun. The DA said Seymour is being charged as an adult for criminal homicide for committing the extremely violent crime. Anyone with information on Seymour is asked to contact Pennsylvania State Police, Aliquippa Police, or Crime Solvers. A $5,000 reward is being offered by Crime Solvers, and a $5,000 reward is being offered by the Aliquippa School Board. A resident of Aliquippa has been sentenced in federal court to 1 day of imprisonment and 3 years of supervised release on her conviction of bank fraud and conspiracy, United States Attorney Eric Olshan announced today. United States District Judge Marilyn Horn imposed the sentence on Lee Ann Benninghoff, 45, of Aliquippa. According to information presented to the court, Benninghoff owned and operated Complete Escrow and Bella Casa Realty. From February 2014 through March 2017, Benninghoff used her position and connections in real estate financing and conspired with others in the industry to submit fraudulent gift letters in support of mortgage loan applications. The gift letters misrepresented the source of the funds and their purpose. A court's ruling earlier this year that the way Pennsylvania funds public schools is unconstitutional helped make education spending one of the thorniest issues in state budget negotiations. The state government is approaching a second week without full spending authority. The final okay on a $45 billion spending plan has been stymied over a dispute about creating a $100 million program to allocate state subsidies for students in the lowest performing districts to attend private or religious schools. Complicating matters is the judge's ruling, which ordered the legislature and governor to fix the system, but with no guidance about how or how quickly it should be done. Authorities are seeking information about a drone that may have been operating near a northwestern Pennsylvania jail before the escape of a homicide suspect last week, and they say they have increasing concerns that the escaped prisoner may be armed. Michael Berman fled the Warren County Prison late Thursday by climbing on exercise equipment, climbing through a window, and then down a rope fashioned from jail bedding, according to authorities. He remains on the loose. County commissioners are vowing security upgrades and a thorough review of procedures. A prosecutor has urged jurors to find the gunman behind the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in U.S. history eligible for the death penalty. Prosecutor Sue Song said Wednesday that Robert Bowers intentionally planned the attack on a Pittsburgh synagogue in 2018 and preyed on vulnerable victims as they began Sabbath worship. But Bowers' lawyer argued that he was overtaken by a delusional belief system. Bowers was convicted last month in the attack in the Tree of Life synagogue that claimed 11 lives. The jury began deliberating Wednesday and will resume today. If it determines Bowers to be eligible, the jury will next hear evidence before deciding whether to impose the death penalty. If jurors determine he is not eligible, Bowers will receive a life sentence without parole.
Here's the Beaver County forecast on 95.7 and 99.3 FM. Along with 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming at beavercountyradio.com.
We can expect showers and thunderstorms today, mainly later this afternoon after 5 p.m. Some storms could be severe with large hail and damaging winds. Otherwise, we'll have sunny skies with a high near 85 degrees. Showers and storms are likely to continue tonight until at least 1 a.m., with mostly cloudy skies going down to a low of 66. Sunny tomorrow with a high of 84. A slight chance of showers Saturday with a possible afternoon thunderstorms and a high of 87. Chance of showers and storms Sunday with sunny skies and a high near 85. And a chance of showers and storms on Monday with a high near 85 degrees. That's a look at the news for now. I'm Curtis Walsh on 99.3 FM, 95.7 FM, 1230 WBVP, 1460 WMBA, and streaming live around the world at beavercountyradio.com.
Talk about what's happening in Beaver County or around the world on Teleforum. 724-843-1888. 724-7. It's Teleforum with Eddie Crow.
It is indeed that. He is indeed that. That being the district attorney for Beaver County, David Lozier, is my guest. You got to take off in a little bit because you got meetings to do and things to do and DA things to do. I want to say thank you for coming by. But before I let you go, consolidation of law enforcement seems like a topic that we should bring up because what we've just been talking about with the Aliquippa murder, them bringing in the state police and the Ambridge, it's got to be a topic of conversation. Do we have enough money to keep paying? It doesn't seem like we do. Are people more open to the conversation of consolidating law enforcement?
They are.
Okay.
Especially the younger people.
Really?
With a little bit of business savvy. And our younger people who have moved around through different parts of the county or lived other places and come back. So you have fewer people who have lived their whole life in Harmony or their whole life in Ambridge or their whole life in Center Township. And they want to protect the fire department, this is what my town always has been.
Right.
You have people now that are far more mobile, and a lot of younger people have a business sense. And so what you're looking at is these small police departments. So you've always say you have a small town with, say, 1,500 people, and they think they should have their own water system, their own sewer system, their own street department, their own fire department, their own police department. That might have worked in 1965.
Just economically now, no chance.
It can't because it used to be that you could pay some. When I was borough council president in Patterson Heights, we're talking almost 20 years ago, we were paying our guys 25 cents above minimum wage. And they were working sometimes 50, 60 hours a week, plowing and maintaining our little 6x6 street town. And the town didn't want to heat the garage, didn't want to buy them a new dump truck. And we're like, guess why you can't keep qualified people to fix your roads? So we spent about 5 years increasing the wage up to, I think we got it while I was there, up to maybe $12 an hour for the road foreman to keep someone long enough to learn how to fix a pipe. They had to have street memory, right?
Long enough to be trained to do the job.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you wanted to have somebody with benefits and with a pension so you could keep them long enough. And that's the same thing with police. We traditionally have paid police very poorly in Beaver County, but you have people that wanted to be police.
Yeah.
So they'd come out of the academy by the score, and they'd be willing to be a part-time officer for 3 or 4 different departments for half a dozen years.
Paying your dues
without getting benefits, and eventually get hired. Well, those days are gone, because now with Aldi's paying $18 an hour and McDonald's paying $15 an hour, you need to provide benefits and a real wage, especially if you want someone to take the pressures. If you want a police officer to have an associate degree, to be well trained, to understand modern forensics, to be willing to wear a body camera, a vest, carry a gun and a taser, in this day and age of the stress on police, you need someone who's well trained, well supervised, and paid. So we need to go up to $30 an hour, $35 an hour. And the departments that are still 4 or 5 officers that can't pay those wages, or have so few officers they can't man all their shifts, but they can't fill the empty shifts because there are no part-timers. And the citizens are seeing that. And the citizens are saying, right, can we consolidate? Oh, we don't have the money. What we've established with our first region that we just put together down at Route 65, Baden, Conway, and Freedom.
Correct.
It doesn't cost any more. We went from 7 officers and a chief in 3 municipalities to 11 officers and a chief, and they're hiring several more. Those are all full-timers for the same dollar. So we end up with more police, and when you have 11 officers, where you used to have 7, now if you have an officer, he could be supervised. You can have a sergeant who rides with a new person for a couple of months and train him. You could have someone that sits down and writes good policies. So you end up with a better quality police, better quality training for the same dollar value. And that's hard for some people. A lot of people want to, but we want to have control. Well, yeah, you will have control because you're going to have a board. And Baden and Freedom and Conway have elected officials on those boards.
And they all have a voice that can be heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we end up we are able to compete with Cranberry and Robinson and Fayette Township when you have a larger department that's better supervised, a better future for those young officers, and pay for the same price.
David Lozier is my guest. I know you got to go. Thank you for on short notice coming by and doing this, and you'll come by and visit us again.
Absolutely. Thank you for the invitation today, and God bless.
Back by popular demand, the first Friday of every month from 9:10 to noon. It's the Beaver County Radio 1968 VW Remote Bus. And the Time Machine with Frank Sparks and Eddie Crow. Frank and Eddie will be going back in time, celebrating some of the greatest moments and music of the mid to late 20th century.
Is this the 50s or 1999?
They'll also be taking your calls and talking about what was going on in Beaver County back in the day. Mark your calendars each month so you don't miss the monthly appearance of the Time Machine.